Welcome to the Curly Hair Q&A show. I am Ken Nickels, and I'm here with Melanie Nickels. She is the founder of the Raw Hair Organic Salon in beautiful Naples, Florida. It's one of the top curly hair salons in the country, and Melanie is one of the top curl experts anywhere in the world. She is also the founder of the Raw Curls brand of natural and organic curly hair products. We typically do a Mondays with Melanie show where Melanie fields questions on a weekly basis. And usually every couple of weeks, we bring in a guest from the industry, whether it's someone who is a stylist or an industry professional, and we do Q&A with them so you can get some different perspectives. And today we have a very special guest. And tonight we have Miss Shari Harbinger.
Woo!
Shari is the former vice president of DevaCurl Education, co-founder of the DevaCurl Academy, and co-founder of the DevaCurl brand as a founding member. And she's also the president of the newly launched License to Lead, and we will talk about that a little later on.
Cool.
So welcome, Shari Harbinger. How are you tonight?
Thank you so much for that awesome introduction. I'm so excited to be here. And I just want to tell you at the beginning of this recording that it's actually pronounced Harbinger with a soft G.
Harbinger.
Harbinger.
I
And
can
you're
do
not
that.
and you're not the first to say it the way you do, but I just wanted for clarity purposes to get that out there. But I'm
Okay.
thrilled to be here, and I really want to applaud you for doing a show like this because I think it's very necessary and I think it's very relevant for what's happening in the industry today.
Well, tonight, Shari, we've got a good mix of questions to go over. Everything from questions from consumers with curly hair, curly girls, and questions from curly hair stylists or professional industry professionals, and maybe even some company owners too. Maybe might have some questions too for you. But I wanted to start off and basically have you tell us a little bit about the story about Diva Curl and how that all started out. And I know a little bit more about it just because I've been in the industry long enough. Melanie and I and you, Shay, as you know, we met a few years ago personally, and there is a lot of misconception about about how Diva Curl started and about the company and the brand and whatever. So why don't you take us back, say 20 years to New York City and tell us how this all started out?
Yeah, about 23 years ago. You're absolutely right on that. Quite a story as we started out as a hair salon, which I wasn't even a part of. And I, at the time, was working for Paramount Beauty. I was teaching Schwarzkopf and Artec and Banditer and all those lines that probably a lot of listeners have never even heard of.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
And I actually went into a salon where the other co-founder, Dennis De Silva, who had only been in the United States for a short time,
So there is
was,
actually three co-founders to Diva Curl, correct?
well, actually, Dennis and Lorraine were the co-founders. I am grateful that I was actually invited in as a partner to the brand called Diva Curl, but I
Mm-hmm.
was definitely part of the original Devachan Salon grouping of about 6 people, as opposed to 150 today. So
Right.
Wow.
started out very small, and essentially, Dennis was ready to become an entrepreneur. We met while I was teaching a hair color class. He asked me if I wanted to partner with him, and unfortunately, way back then, I just didn't have I wasn't prepared financially to go
Uh-huh.
into. So I actually had a friend who needed a haircut, and I sent her to him for a haircut. He happened to have known the owner of Devachan Salon, sometimes pronounced Deva or Diva, and she actually hooked Dennis up with her. And they were the original, I guess you could say, founders of the Devachan Salon. And shortly thereafter, Dennis begged me to come down and become part of it. I was definitely resistant, but eventually he got the better of me and
Mm-hmm.
I went down there. And that was really the official Devachan as most people know it, where we started really looking at curly girls and their needs and having conversations, almost like a focus group type of setting.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the start of us saying to ourselves, what's happening in the industry? That was around 1995, I would say.
Hmm.
Wow, that's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah. And we were a small group, as I said earlier, 6 people, and we were just exploring. We didn't have a product line. We were a hair salon.
Hmm. So tell us, how did the products come along, and when did that happen, and what transpired? What made you guys decide? What were you using before that made you
Ooh, that's a good
decide,
question.
we probably need to do something on our own?
Yeah, we were using some, just some other products, but what the realization was, we obviously didn't have our brand at the time, but what we did realize was that uh, quote unquote shampoo was very harsh, dehydrating, and uh, it was not getting our clients the results that they were looking for. And so what we decided to do was just ditch shampoo, period, and just go with conditioner. And that was the start of realizing that friction, a hydrating delivery system, and water were actually very, very cleansing and conditioning to curly hair.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started doing that. And then that was our little aha moment. We wonder if there was a way that we could create a cleanser that was void of these harsh detergents, which we all now are called sulfates,
Sure.
and deliver an experience to a client unlike any that they've ever had before, where their hair actually felt great after the cleanse and obviously after the conditioner. The biggest challenge that clients had, as they told us, was that their hair always felt like cardboard after a basic shampoo.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They were always relying on the conditioner to soothe and bring that good feeling back to the hair. And so the aha moment that we had was, why are we stripping the hair of its own natural moisture balance
Sure.
when we could instead keep it, add moisture to it, and then bring in additional moisture, which curly girls need, as most curly girls who might be listening know, and have that be the awesome foundation that supports anything we'd want to do in terms of styling and finishing. And it was a big moment to realize that creating that foundation of moisture is the key to even supporting a conditioning or a mask, supporting a finishing and a styling, and then daily or even weekly wear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was something that a lot of our clients were missing and not understanding, as we were learning also, getting that foundation first. Drive in the moisture, build up the moisture, and then retain the moisture. And that was the aha moment we had around building a brand. How could we create a brand that delivers cleansing and moisture and styling every step of the way?
Sure.
Didn't you guys, didn't you really basically start with one product and that was your one? Is that true?
Yeah, we did. Actually, the first product that we had was called Mr. Right.
Yes.
Was at the time it was called a lavender herbal cleansing tonic.
Okay.
What came about is that we realized that after day one, day two, day three, the curls actually started to look better
Hmm.
as it went on. But how could we not disturb the curls, but deodorize the scalp so that we could refresh and revitalize and have the hair look good as much as up to 5% of the food? And so Mr. Right was born. It was a lavender infused tonic. It was a spray. I'm sorry, it was originally an added tincture where we would just drop it into the scalp area and massage. That was it.
We're gonna have
And
to take
you know
that
that
question again.
lasted for a while, but eventually, and obviously, the hair was going to start to smell after a while. And so we realized we have to flush the hair. And that was where we had the opportunity. I would say it was around 1999. We had the opportunity to go to Berlin, Germany, to Hair World, and we were invited by a major hair color company to participate. And we had also the good fortune through that process of meeting a renowned chemist. And we were connected with the chemist, and we talked to him about what we were trying to do, which is create a very cleansing, hydrating experience that wasn't dehydrating to the hair. I will be honest and tell you, he thought we were crazy.
Yeah. Would that have been the early 2000s?
It was around
Oh, yeah.
2000. He thought we were crazy, but he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And why I say that is because you still think about way back then, that whole familiar experience of lather.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
To be brave and bold enough to say and to go down that path of a no lather concept had never been done. And to be honest with you, it was not well received in the beginning. People were confused. They didn't think it worked. And that's when we really had to get clear about how are we going to explain and message this process of cleansing the hair and creating friction on the scalp to bring about a cleansing process with something that's not going to bubble.
Sure. Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, it's hard enough just competing, in the product space in general, but to educate and because literally, Shari, you guys were creating a new product category and having to educate people to, to understand what it is and to why they want it and to buy it. It's a monumental task.
Yeah, that is. That's yeah, we applaud you for that because that's a huge undertaking, and to be able to survive and thrive in that space is amazing because I know how difficult it is to educate people.
It was a tough decade of being at hair shows and being the only, curly booth and begging people to come over and just listen to what we had to say about a non-lathering product. It was a tough time.
Yeah, but and in fact, that's interesting because that's how I found you in 2007, 2006, 2007. Because exactly that. You guys were at a hair show. I saw you and I thought, wow, this really makes sense. I have curly hair, and it was just so intriguing to me because it was something so new and different, and it just resonated and it made sense to me. So I'm like, I want to learn more.
Shortly after you discovered it, something magical happened at the hair show, and I'll never forget it. We sold out our product, and that was the moment I feel like we really arrived as a brand.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And I know, shows are so crazy and busy the way it is. And Ken and I had started doing shows, just the two of us. So I know what that's like.
Yeah. And cut by Tuesday, you're exhausted. And then to have that be your busiest time. Oh my God.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, while that was happening, the book Curly Girl was written. And so what happened at that moment was that consumers were also starting to ask questions.
And that was
they were talking to their stylist about this book. In fact, when we launched our academy for professionals and we were asking the students, how did you find out about DevaCurl? So many professionals said, my client told me about it.
Wow.
She read the book, she saw this, she heard about this product, and that's really what prompted the stylist to start coming to our academy to learn about the product.
That's so interesting. And that was one of my questions that I had written down. So were you you were a part of that, writing that Curly Girl book? Because everyone relates it to Lorraine. And so I thought that was interesting. So who was all a part of compiling that book?
It was definitely Lorraine's brainchild, for sure. I would say we all interviewed clients in the salon. The salon became our focus group. The photo shoot was done in the salon. We were all participatory. Clearly, it's her book, but we all brought data and information around how we could inform the book. And so I would say it was, ultimately it was a group effort, but it was really her, as she would ever tell you, it was her frustration with her own hair.
Right.
Sure.
Right. And, we were all really lucky enough to be part of that time at Devachan Salon. We were so new to be around it, to listen to the interviews, to start asking our own clients about their hair. So it was a monumental time for all of us to have an awareness around our clients, but also as stylists. We too were learning from her what she was discovering and set out to do.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah, that's so interesting because even today, I hear a lot of clients come in or on this show and they're asking how they can find, a curly specialist because in their area, because like you're saying, the consumer is aware of it, but a lot of stylists aren't trained yet. So, they're seeking that out. And we
Yeah.
have people, and I know you do too, that travel from, all over the place just to come and get their hair done, by someone who is trained.
Yeah.
Well, I would tell you, to the best of my recollection, how it happened was that the more and more the word got out, we hired a PR company. You know how word of mouth travels. One happy, naturally textured client is going to talk to 10, and so on
Yes.
Right.
and so on and so on. That's really how it happened. But what we thought we needed to do, and what we felt it was our responsibility to do, is share our knowledge with other stylists across the country. And so we didn't have a formal academy set up at the time, but we definitely opened up our salon and turned it into an academy atmosphere on a Sunday or a Monday. And we just began to share the information. And that's really where I come into the picture. In terms of the academy, my background, very, very strong on education, writing, curriculum design, content management development. And so we would ideate together a lot, all of us.
Sure.
And then what we would do is we would take the information and we would try to have it make sense so that we could make it scalable and digestible to a stylist who's interested in how are we doing it? How are we becoming so successful as a salon? And how can we share that information so that they too can have the same success? That's how the curriculum was born. And when I look back at the original manuals, and I think today, how we've evolved and advanced the curriculum, we're still learning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was going to say that it's ever ongoing and ever changing. Because I have, the booklet or the educational packet that I have is actually paper stapled together. And you guys had come to the first class that I took was in Orlando, or it was in
Oh,
It's
Florida.
got to be
And it was just like in a
06 or something,
hotel
07.
room
Yeah.
or something. And yeah, it was in '07. And it literally was just paper stapled together. I didn't care. That was no big deal. But, it's ever evolving. And in fact, that was another question that I had, because back then you definitely were teaching the curl by curl cutting. And I think, you guys have evolved into a different system. Is that true?
you're absolutely right. And it's still evolving.
Mm-hmm.
We honestly, when I think back, 20 years ago, we mastered the Diva Curl transformation service, which back then was called the Diva 3-step.
Yeah.
Right. I remember.
What we were able to do with product and how we were able to transform the way the curls looked and felt and how a person looked and felt about their hair without putting a scissor to the head was really a game changer for us.
Mm.
But what happened over time, and that's where you came into it, Melanie, is that we realized, well, we better start learning how to cut hair now.
Right.
Now have a clue. They love their curl, but they actually now have aspirations around shape, and they can get beyond let me just make it look good enough to walk out of my house.
Right.
Now, okay, I want to make a fashion statement here. And so curl by curl was the first step in really giving the stylist a tool to approach the curly client. What happened over time is that, just as with haircuts even today, we continue to evolve. And what we discovered was that what a curly girl truly wants, and when I say curly girl, I really mean so many textures, infinite variations of waves and curls and super curls.
Mm-hmm.
But one is a shape that they feel is relevant, that supports the look and feel and aspiration that they envision for themselves. And if they don't have one, they want us to help them find that vision for themselves. And so with the hair cutting and how it evolved was we needed to create a roadmap that was easily explainable to a stylist, where a stylist understood the different curl textures and how different textures behave, where these curls live and land on any one given head of hair, and how to move the shape or adjust the existing shape so that it complements the curl and the aspiration of that client. And there needed to be a roadmap that we could teach that was definitely curl by curl, but then even a step above the curl by curl because we're all mostly method learners here in the United States. We need a method. We need a step-by-step approach. We need to understand building a foundation, then how do I move the interior of that hair around? How do I work with the face frame? And that's really how the cut evolved to what it is today, which more recently had been coined the waterfall, but we've since even evolved from the waterfall. And now we have just a customized Diva cut for all curl types or wavy types or super curly types, because we realize that you can't box one person into, or I should say many people into one specific.
There you go.
And
that's exactly what we've been doing.
Yeah, and that's really true. And in fact, when I came to that first class and got trained, I think it was you and Cal that were teaching it.
Wow.
And I sat back and I was like, well, how do you, it was really freehand. It was a lot of freehand cutting, and I thought, I mean, that's great, but it's difficult to teach that. It's not really a system,
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's the epiphany I had as someone who was designing curriculum and needed to come up with something, even for myself, that I could explain. Why are you doing this curl or that curl?
Yeah.
Intuitive isn't enough.
Hard to teach someone how to be an artist.
Right.
And that was the moment where, and now we've coined the term, even in the world of Diva Curl, it has to be a combination of both technical and intuitive know-how to land at that desired result. There's got to be the balance of both. And that's what we were missing. We were missing the technical. So someone who just didn't get it, from an artistic, very intuitive place, because not everyone can learn that way, definitely understood the roadmap. So we build a foundation, which is technical, and then we complement, we enhance, we supplement with the intuitive. Perfect. And that's where the Diva cut lives today.
Yep. Perfect. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So as the founder of the actual DevaCurl Academy, you went about basically, as you described, training up stylists in methods that they could take, and then you started off eventually with the level system, right? The level 1, the level 2, level 3 stylists, and then as time went on, obviously you guys saw that wasn't that wasn't the key either, and started to move away from that. And then ultimately a couple of years ago, went to a Diva certified type program in your educational system.
Right.
Tell me why that came about and how that came about, because that is something that, and I'm not being critical when I say this. I'm just kind of pointing this out because I just want to lay this out. Yeah. Is what you guys were doing was great, and I would have done the exact same thing. But obviously what happened as some time went on is there were stylists who were basically going to a Diva Curl, quote unquote, let's call it look and learn, and then going back to their home salons and advertising that they had Diva Curl training, that they were Diva stylists. And that for the lay customer, the lay curly girl client, became a real issue. Was the idea of putting together the Diva certified or changing that system up, was that to address that? And if so, how do you see that evolving from where we are right now? Because that's still an issue. And with the percentage of people in this country with curly hair or some type of textured hair, and the fact that there's not nearly enough trained stylists, and people going out there and using your name as being a specialist.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how I ask that question. How do we correct that?
I'm as frustrated as you are. I want to back up for a second. I just want to clarify my title is co-founder, not founder.
Damn it. Sorry.
Okay, just in the spirit of transparency and honesty. So there's that. But I'm as equally as frustrated as you are. And many of us were because they would come to the training that we were so generously giving because we wanted people to be set up for success back at their salon. And so we crafted the level 1 and the level 2, which back then was called something else. But what happened in the industry, and we have wins and learns also, even as a company as large as we've become, is that the term certified somehow attached itself onto those people who began self-titling as Diva Specialists,
Exactly.
not from us. And so it was frustrating for us because we felt that they were misrepresenting their level of expertise at the time.
They still are. I'll say it.
Well,
They
it
still
happens
are.
a lot in everything. Everyone's a master stylist, a master colorist, and
Right.
it's like, well, who are you?
Who told you?
Yeah, according to yourself, it's like, but
Everyone's suddenly the expert,
Mm-hmm.
And there are definitely more experts available for the consumer, but for us to put our name on something, what we had to do is get very clear with the consumers and the professionals in how we're messaging what we're doing. And so the level 1, which was a foundational inspired program, and the level 2, which is the advanced program, are attendance based, which means they get a diploma at the end, they attended the program. What prompted us to create level 3, which is truly the first time we as a company ever messaged the term certified, which confused people because they had already self-titled. So in their mind, they were already certified.
Right.
We never certified them. They simply attended our program. We felt that if for us to endorse someone where a consumer could find a stylist and know that we have assessed individual and we put our stamp of approval on it, we had to create a certification program, which is a pass or fail. And that student has to take the level 2 as a prerequisite to take the level 3. And essentially in the level 3, they are tested and assessed on everything that we taught them in level 2. It's a 2-day program. Day 1 is a review. Day 2 is the practical assessment. And I have to tell you, not everyone passes. And it's a humbling moment for many stylists, some of, which have been probably saying they were experts all along.
Sure.
And I will say it's a good thing, though,
I
because
agree.
they're humble about it and they realize that they really need to continue training. Like I say, train like an athlete. And that's when you become, and I would never even put the title of expert ever. I've spent my whole life and I'll never be an expert. But to feel really confident to deliver a service to a client that has had nothing but a negative experience. That's the moment when a client sits in your chair and you can deliver a start to finish result. And the client and the stylists who are listening to this, they know this. You know this, Melanie. When they look up at you and they say, this is for the first time in my life, I actually think I look pretty and I feel amazing. How many years did it take that consumer to sit in that stylist's chair? And so you're right, Ken, we're at a precipice right now. We don't have enough true experts in texture. And it's something that, we're evolving, the consumer's learning, they're discovering, they're making mistakes, we're making mistakes. But we're at a moment, I do believe, in the industry now with a lot more curl products out there and different versions of a technique where a consumer has a better chance at getting a decent service than they ever had before.
I love that. I love that. And it's just like, I kind of joke around about doctors, they're practicing medicine. So we're practicing curly hair. We're all learning as a community together. We learn from each other. Like you say, the wins and the mistakes, it is ever evolving. And we're just all trying to help each other get better and, provide a better service for the consumer.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, Ken, so that was our learn. That was the learn, is that you have to put an endorsement on a program so that the consumer knows who is the best person for their needs. And there are some people out there that They don't care if the person's certified or not. They're actually happy with the Diva inspired stylist or an advanced. That's, that's their choice. But the good news is that someone who becomes certified, which means they've actually passed the practical assessment, they've attended our program and they've passed the test, they are listed as a Diva certified stylist and they are listed on the website. And
Yeah.
here's the interesting thing that's happening right now. Even though we're still learning, we're still making mistakes, we're still evolving. We've expanded our program now for the super curly girl, the art of texture.
Yeah, Melanie took that maybe a year and a half
Mm-hmm.
ago or so. One of the first classes you guys had. Yeah.
And that class has even evolved since Melanie attended it.
I'm
And that's
sure.
where we're at. And that's the beauty of it, is that we can look at what we've done, we can celebrate it, but say, we still have work to do. And that's part of also, where you had mentioned my new endeavor, my new venture is
Oh, you wrecked it for me. That was my next lead in. Why don't you tell us about your newest endeavor, Shari, License to Lead? Tell me about that.
Well, here's what's happening. We have an awesome foundational program at the Academy. And part of what's happened for me, you posted on your page that we have a new CEO at DevaCurl.
Yeah, as of Saturday, I saw that.
And it's exciting. And the company's in transition. I'm in transition. I've been at this for 23 plus years, and we all hit a fork in the road and we say, what's next? What's next for the business? What's next for me personally? And where I'm at and what I want to offer is something that is off the grid, meaning it's out of the box of foundational curriculum, because there are stylists who have taken all of these programs and they're asking, now what's next? And they are skilled and they really are exceptional stylists. And so what License to Lead is an offering of customized programs for all textures, where we're going beyond the foundational roadmap and we're offering all these customized concepts on how we can approach shape and create different types of fashionable, relevant looks for people, because that's where the consumer's head is at right now. It's not just a one and done. This is the cut and we hope you'll love it. We have to really instill confidence in our stylists so that they can transfer that skill to that consumer that sits in their chair and deliver a result that's fully customized, not only for their curl type, their hydration levels, for their needs, but also for their fashion. What's their aspiration? How do they want to showcase their look? And the only way to do that is to delve beyond foundation and really dial into customization. And that's just part of it. The other side of it is and you know this because you are salon owners, you're manufacturers, but how do we speak to our clients? How do we communicate with them in a way that they understand this start to finish process that's so much more than just the haircut? How do we get them to become self-sufficient at home when they leave our chair with products, no matter what product? Giving them that full coaching, that full understanding of what is their hair capable of, what's possible. And then, of course, given that beautiful cut to support it, but have them be self-sufficient in our absence. That's where I believe we need to go in the industry now. And I think it's already begun.
I agree. Yeah. Because I always tell people what's important with the curly hair is the right products and the right cut. And so that's exactly what you're talking about. And you're right. I mean, a lot of people are asking for a style. And, they're like, oh, what? Do I just have to have layers or one length? It's like, no, you can have, all different styles with curly hair. It's, like you say, can be fully customized depending,
More than ever. You mentioned a very interesting word, the word layer. What I was talking about in terms of how we could also think about evolving the language, the way we communicate with a client, and give them words and associations of things that they're familiar with. The word layer we found at the Academy, and I found from my years behind the chair with clients, is that because so many curly clients have had bad experiences with the word layer, that some of them are actually afraid when a stylist says that word. So it's also working on how can we use different words. Like one of the words that I'm using now is elevations, and use my hand to pull the hair and move the hair to show them what I mean by elevation, where, between you and me, Melanie, we know it's a layer, but bring a more positive association to these words and these techniques that we do so that they're more on board with what it is that we're trying to do, which is truly create shape.
True.
Create a beautiful shape that they like. So communication, languaging is something that is a very important part of what I do in License to Lead. And even at the Academy, is being mindful of how we're saying what we're saying to our clients. Really being mindful with our client beyond the skill of the cut.
And I agree with you. And, at least if what I find is, because like you said, they're familiar with those terms, sometimes you end up going back to it, but just explaining and educating them on why it can work on, how you're going to customize, how you're doing it differently so that it's not going to be a bad experience. It's going to be a positive experience, and explain and show them visually what it's going to do for their hair. And then, and I literally have them hold a mirror. I turn them around. I show them where, okay, you've got these choppy shelves. That's from having a traditional haircut. I'm going to be able to, get rid of that, make it blend really, beautifully. Have your curls locked together. But, sometimes they're just familiar with that term. So like layering, can come out. But I just educate and explain and show them, how it can work for their hair.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. Even saying something like, you may have a negative association with the word layer. Right. I want to show you how a layer can actually be a good thing if done properly and, in synchronicity with the shape that you want. So
exactly.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
Sure. Is the License to Lead program, is that part of the DevaCurl Academy, or is this a separate deal?
Oh, thanks for that question. It's a separate deal right now. I'm a consultant for Diva Curl right now. I'm still mentoring. I'm doing educator leadership. So all of the Academy educators right now are under my coaching and mentorship so that we can really create an elite group of educators there. But what I'm also doing is, and I've begun the process, even though I haven't launched my website yet, is a lot of the former students who become salon owners, such as yourself, when they heard that I was branching out and starting this new education platform, they actually reached out to me. And I've already begun the process of doing in-salon education for small or large groups of people who have either attended the Academy and know me that way, or are finding out about me now through word of mouth. And so
cool.
It's a wonderful experience to take them to that out of the box, that advanced place that doesn't happen in the Academy, where we're really breaking the boundaries and going into that customized deep dive to instill more confidence around, any texture. Any client that walks into the salon. It's I call it the mathematics or the architecture of hair cutting. It's really taking what they've learned to the next level. So that's been exciting.
Going with the word association, I think I would remove mathematics from working with hairstylists. I know one of my girls would be running out the door if it had to do with math.
Oh my God.
So yeah.
You have something familiar. One of the new concepts that we're using at the Academy right now is we are familiarizing people with a clock. A clock, that's a familiar tool. It's an invisible tool that people use in space to tell time. And we're actually using that spatial relationship because that's where I think the mistakes happen, is when we start lifting the hair. Where are we lifting it to? We need to have a target that's understandable, that's digestible, that people can relate to. So that's what I mean about the mathematics of it. And it's really been an incredible epiphany for a lot of stylists who admit that many times when they're in the haircut, they're not sure where they're directing the hair to. And so it gives them a target to follow. And back to your point earlier that, you can't build a haircut just on intuition. You need a roadmap. Most people need a roadmap.
Right. That's interesting. There's another company that I took a class, just, to give you some feedback. This is funny because I had never thought about it, but there's another company out there that teaches a clock type method. And when I went back to the salon, again, just to know your audience, the younger kids now coming up haven't typically used traditional clocks. It's all digital.
Very true.
I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, they are not even familiar with looking at a clock and how to tell time on a traditional clock. Crazy. But
Wild. It's pretty wild, right?
yeah.
Hey, Shari, would you be willing to, like, after the first of the year, if we do a live Q&A show with stylists, would you be interested in coming on for a while and fielding some questions about this licensed lead program?
Oh, it would be my absolute pleasure.
Great.
And thank you for that invitation.
Yeah,
Yes.
great.
So I want to ask one, because this kind of is relating to all of the information that we were just talking about. And
Yeah,
we
go
should
ahead.
probably go into some individual
Yeah,
questions.
and then I'm going to go into questions.
Sure.
But so your system, I just want to clarify that you're going into teaching now. Is this still all dry cutting? And well, let's just start with that. Are you still just
Yeah,
doing?
tell us your theory. You're basically a dry cutting system with new techniques. Are you embracing any wet cutting techniques at all? Are you still dry cutting? And tell us about that and give us the why.
Okay. Well, dry cutting all the way, of course. Remember that this curriculum that lives inside the DevaCurl Academy is a curriculum that I helped design, a team of designers. So I absolutely wholeheartedly believe in seeing the behavior of the curl, or the wave or the super curl, understanding the spring factor, understanding where the hair lives and where it's going to land. And I'm a big believer that when the hair is wet or stretched, you have to work so much harder to guess in advance where it's going to land when it's dry. So I'm all about the dry cutting, minimal tension, no comb. So all that holds true. I would say that the concept and the foundation, it's the same. I'm just taking it deeper into more customization so that a student who's leaving my program has a fuller understanding and more confidence about approaching any texture and creating any shape.
Sure.
Cool.
Sure.
Okay.
What would you say to, and we've got a lot of people in our groups that fit in this category, and I've heard these comments before. So what would you say to someone who has, say, 4A, 4B, 4C type curls, and here's you talking about we only do it dry in its natural state, and their whole lives they've had it done differently. What how do you address those people? How do you get those people to come your way?
Well, I have actually two questions in response to that. First, which is that the Diva system is not built on a number and letter system.
Right.
So if you could just tell me what 4A through C means.
That ultra textured.
Ultra textured. Yeah.
Okay. So
I use those numbers, Shari. I use those numbers, and trust me, Melanie is against them too. So I only brought them up that way because I know that's how the majority of people who are lay people, I call them lay people, that are lay people that are dressed, so they'd understand what we were talking about.
That's the ultra textured hair.
Ultra textured, yes.
Well, I do want to respond to that because even within the ultra textured hair spectrum, on one head of hair, there could be many infinite variations of texture. And when the hair is wet, you can't see that. And so in that super curly realm, whether there's more than one type of texture living on it or not, super curly hair tends to live more in space. The definition decreases, the volume increases. So the hair's naturally living off the scalp. So for someone it's actually been very easy. That's the second part of your question. It's been so easy to, for lack of a better word, convert that customer because they haven't been happy with what has been happening. So they know that whatever it has been wasn't working.
No, and those techniques are not pleasant.
No.
For a young person, that's for sure.
Yeah. I would say that because they're involved, they're visually along the ride with us. They're watching this beautiful sculpting happening right before their eyes. They're seeing how the smallest snip the strategic snip in the right place can make the biggest difference in rebalancing a shape. That's the celebration right there for that curly girl.
Sure.
And you might, I don't know if you were leading to this or not, but I do want to answer it anyway, because some of the listeners might have this as a question, is the old, what if I wear it straight sometime?
Right. You bet.
Yes, but remember that when you understand where the hair lives on the head and you're still implementing a technical roadmap and supplementing it with an intuitive eye, you're always going to get, no matter how they wear it, you're always going to get a beautiful, balanced look. And that's the beauty of this combined technical and intuitive approach to dry cutting.
That's really interesting. Let me throw something else at you, and then let's get into Q&As. I've got bunches of questions. So the whole concept that you've explained to us is about the system, about the roadmap, about the technical. Melanie's a technical cutter as well as artistic, but very much into that. So you guys patented, basically, or trademarked the concept of Pentura highlighting, which is basically painting highlights onto curls, which is completely artistic and not really technical. So how did you meld that together?
Well, it's actually a very technical roadmap driven technique.
Really?
It is. We teach the students step by step how to section the hair, how to understand when we say the roadmap, how certain textures live and land on the head. But there's absolutely a roadmap attached to it that gives them a feeling of confidence as they're in it. Where it gets creative is the stylist's choice of where they place the light, where they maintain the depth, how thick or thin that band of color may or may not be. That's where the creativity comes in. And so again, we're marrying
them both together.
And the intuitive together.
Makes
and
sense.
That's what's working. That's why, the Academy is sold out now. Years ago, we couldn't sell it out. People just didn't understand it. It was an uphill battle. Now we don't have enough programs for people.
I know. Isn't that great? To me, that's so exciting because I can remember years ago, Melanie signing up for a class and at the last minute it being canceled because there wasn't enough students. And it's just so frustrating because, well, obviously we know what you know. And we just kept, every year we kept thinking, when is this finally going to catch on in the stylist community where they realize they need this training? Not that it's an option, but they really need it. And now to hear you say that that's actually finally happening is great. It's great news to hear.
It is. And to your point, it was so difficult for so long that people that are first entering into the industry don't know the history of what it took for you and your business and your brand and your salon to get to this moment. It took a lot of rolling up those sleeves and pounding it out and talking to people until finally the collective got it.
Right. The overnight success that took 20 years.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Let's get into
some questions. I got a bunch. I'll rattle through them and we'll go from there. Okay, I'll give you the first one. This is from Wendy Levitt. I just want to tell Shari Harbinger she is sweet, beautiful, amazing, and I wish her all good things in the coming new year.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Okay.
Wendy Levitt is a Devachan client, actually.
Oh, great.
One of our first, and she's a true passionate loyalist. So thank you, Wendy, for that.
Okay, good, because they get harder from here. Okay. Okay. For you're a wavy, obviously. What is your favorite go-to one must-have product?
I would say the volumizing foam right now.
Really? Does that product change occasionally, or has it always been the volumizing foam?
No, it's always changing. If to say it's always been something, well, first of all, volumizing foam has only been around for about years. I would tell you that my basic combination of products is volumizing foam and wave maker. It used to be the gel. I had an epiphany around gel for wavy hair. And I'm having a new discovery around my hair even as we speak. So I'm looking for less of that defined, contained wave And now I'm looking for more of that texture, messier, undone look.
Okay.
Interesting. That was going to be my question, whether you layer the gel on top of the foam, but
Can you see me right now? I don't remember if this.
no, it didn't.
I can't. Rhett, can we see her? Can we pull her up on our big monitor in the studio?
No, you cannot.
No, we cannot. So no, I can't see. You'll have to paint us a picture with words.
All right. Well, I used to definitely have a curlier wave. I also think that my hair's changed and now it's wavier. So rather than try to force it to be something it no longer is, I'm really enjoying the wave it's become, which is more relaxed. But what I do look for is the volume at the crown. And we know that that's always a combination of the haircut and the styling. So the volumizing foam is giving me that crown lift.
Ah, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to say, when I met you, your hair was just a very loose wave, and then as the years have gone on, I noticed that it definitely was more of a defined curl. So yeah.
Getting wavier again. So
Yeah.
to and that's something that our listeners should really be okay with, how your hair changes.
Yeah.
Even based on the seasons, obviously my hair is going to be a little bit wavier, curly in a more humid climate than it is in a drier, winter climate.
Sure.
Exactly. Hey, Shari, I'm just kind of curious because I had this question come up in our live show, and I've never honestly seen it happen, but you have a similar hair type where someone said when they tried diffusing their hair, it actually made it straighter than letting it air dry. I've not seen that myself. Have you?
No, those questions always they're tough because we can't see the person asking the question.
Yeah.
We don't know the approach that they took to get to where they've landed.
I agree.
Right.
You know as well as I do, there's so many things that lead up to that. And you mentioned one of them, which is touching the hair.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could think of because I've never honestly seen that happen. So I'm like, maybe they're just touching it too much, pulling the curl out. I don't know. But anyway, I was curious.
Perhaps we're using a product and not, encouraging and scrunching to prepare it before they actually put the diffuser into the hair.
Correct.
But I would have to say I agree with what your comment was, which is the handling of the hair might have led to that
Sure.
end result.
Okay.
Sure. Next question is about ultra defining gel. How much ultra defining gel is recommended to use for each hair texture? And in summary, with DevaCurl products, is less is more or more is more the guideline?
I'm chuckling as you're asking me this question. I think everyone wants us to just tell them exactly what it has to be.
Of course they do.
Yeah, they want to know how many pumps. I get that question a lot. Like, how many pumps of the? I don't know. I've never counted the pumps.
Right. It's impossible to give that answer to someone we've never seen. But here are some things I would say are good indicators or things to look for. One is the density of the hair, the hydration, the existing hydration level. And we want to make sure, this is something I said at the very beginning, which is we want to drive the moisture in first through cleansing and conditioning. If we've done that, that's going to inform how we use the stylers, which stylers we use, and how much. We want to make sure we have enough of a hydration base that's going to support any styler we put on the hair. In the case of a gel, I would say enough to cover the entire landscape of the hair. We don't want to OD on any product, but we don't want to underuse either. So cover the entire landscape of the hair. Make sure that you've glazed and grazed enough product over all of the hair, so all of the hair is receiving the benefit of that styler.
That's a good description. And you guys believe, I was taught, and I think you're still teaching, to apply the products to soaking wet hair, correct?
Well, again, it depends on the type. So we say the wetter the better when the hair is more dehydrated or leaning towards super curly, and actually less wet, more damp to wet when the hair is more on the wavy end of the spectrum.
Ah, okay.
Water weighs the hair down, which some people need. They need that water also to move the product through. But in the case of a wavy or a wavy to curly, we actually want less water in the hair so that we can really achieve that volume and that lift that we're looking for.
That's good.
Okay. All right. Let's go to another one. When scrunching with a Diva towel after applying product, doesn't it remove most of the product that was applied?
So back to the water and the moisture question.
Again, yes.
Okay. So if you're, I would say curly to super curly, and we say the wetter the better, you definitely want to leave more water in than less. That hair is going to soak up that product without a towel. So I'm going to say that on the super curly hair, you might find yourself not even using a towel. By the time you work that product through that hair, you might even have to add more water while you're working the styler through the hair. And walk away feeling as if you don't even have to put a towel to it. And if you do feel you want to put a towel to it, it's not a scrunching application. It's more of a blotting. And it's a very gentle blotting, just enough to remove the drip, because that hair will dry better from a better place.
Yeah, I agree with you. And in fact, I have to apply the product at the shampoo bowl with that hair type
Yes,
because you don't need a towel because it just soaks all that water in.
even right, left the sink. Now,
Right.
waiting on the other side, so this might answer this individual's question. Um, some people like to apply the product and then scrunch, but for your wavy clients or wavy bordering curly, you might find it more beneficial to scrunch first, gently scrunch, and then apply your product.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
there's definitely these different offerings. And then of course there's, you meet in the middle. You scrunch a little bit and then you apply your product. The whole idea behind water in the hair is to distribute the product across the entire landscape of the hair, but also to see water as your friend to help move the product through the hair. And you and I talked about that word balance before we even went on the air.
Hmm.
Balance is key, and that's why it's so important for the people in the audience that are listening to this that are consumers, is to make sure that you get the stylist who understands how to coach you through this styling and finishing process so you can go home and be self-sufficient.
Yes, and I like going back to our previous conversation where, even for stylists, it's a learning transition because you might, learn something one way, and teach that to a client, and then you might learn something new and they'll say, "Well, before you told me, I should do this or that." And now you're, saying something different, and it's, because we're getting more information on how to make it better.
I couldn't agree more, Melanie. And that's why I say we're still learning.
The next three questions that we have are the three biggest questions we probably see discussed in the curly hair Facebook groups for sure. And we'll start with one that's become a real hot topic over probably the last maybe 8, 9, 10 months. And I know it's completely misunderstood. I can't wait to hear how you're going to answer this. We've had on these interview shows, we've had one, two, three, at least three curl specialists come on and with Melanie and everybody has answered this the same way, but it's not what we hear in the curl influencer world. There's a complete opposite explanation. So we'll see where Shari lands on this.
Okay.
Okay, curly hair and protein. A lot of people say that they believe that their curls are protein sensitive and steer themselves away from protein products that have any protein in them whatsoever because they believe that they make their curls mushy and undefined. What are your thoughts, Shari
Well,
Harbinger,
the other
on
term that's
protein
used is protein overload.
or protein overload? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I have so many thoughts on the word. First of all, I'll start out by saying go eat a piece of meat if you want to get protein in your body. But for the vegetarians listening,
Right,
Oh gosh.
right.
we got to remember, and you know this because you work closely with the chemist,
Yep.
what's ingestible and what's topical behave very differently in the body and as it translates to the hair. But as long as we're on the topic of topical, which is products, protein, strengthening versus moisture, I think that's really where the misconception is. There's an overload of everything. You can overload on conditioner, you can overload on protein, you could build up on product.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to understand the balance of everything. When the hair responds negatively, something's off balance. Whether it leans too sedated, whether it's laden with conditioner, or if they're still using, the silicones and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And then if you go to the other side, if they're ODing on protein, too much protein is going to harden the hair. It's not good. So how do you find the balance? And it's going to go back to what I said probably throughout this entire interview, which is got to first open the doorway and lay the foundation for moisture. Once you have the moisture, you got to ask yourself, is it really protein that I'm looking for, or is it hydration? Now, it might be a combination of both. And if that's the case, I would say start with a good formula for foundation of moisture first. Then, if you're looking to strengthen those clients who've had chemical relaxers or they're using the heat styling tools, that's typically the hair that has lost its strength. So they're the ones that probably feel that they need some kind of a strengthening anecdote to what they've been doing. But I say anything that's off balance is going to react negatively to the hair. Find that combination of moisture, protein, and the proteins that we speak of. Today we can speak a little bit more favorably around proteins because there's so many different types of proteins. These chemists are coming up with incredible blends of different ingredients that didn't exist years ago. And so they're much more penetrating, coupled with botanical blends of moisture. It will be very good for the hair in balance.
Exactly. And I love the way that you said that, Shari, because that's pretty much how I explain it. I mean, the hair is made of protein and moisture. So it's not that you should never, ever, use any protein like it's taboo, because sometimes you need it. And the difference, like you had said, is the protein strengthens the hair and then the moisture softens it. So, and it moisturizes it. So there is a need to have that balance.
There is a balance, but I would say this, if they wanted, like, what's your opinion? Go with moisture first. Go with moisture first.
Okay.
Because 9 times out of 10, unless it's that real extenuating circumstance of overly bleached hair or chemical hair, is that moisture will bring back the curl memory more than you could ever imagine.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. That's a great answer. Next question of the 3 is frizz. How does the DevaCurl system control frizz? Is it by the cut? Is it by products? And if so, which products? Or is it a combination of both?
It is a combination of all of the above, and you'll probably be disappointed with my answer because it's going to come back to moisture again.
I knew it. I knew that.
Now, but let's talk about moisture, because when you talk about the different textures of the wavy girls or guys and the curlies and the super curlies and every infinite variation in between, you have to think about what kind of moisture. For example, a wavy person may need more of a weightless moisture because we still want volume. So we don't want to weigh the hair down with that slip that maybe a super curly girl needs.
Mm-hmm.
So what my needs are and what my end goal is requires a different moisture. It's more weightless. Now, if I go to someone like a super curly girl, you mentioned for A through Z, whatever that is.
Right.
Is moisture. They're looking to create definition that doesn't normally exist in their hair. They're looking to get those curls to really soak it up and form a beautiful defined curl. They crave elongation in some cases. Some now are liberated and they want big baboon hair, but they still want moisture. And so the kind of moisture they need has to be more of that ultra rich moisture, because that's what their hair type is demanding. And then you've got, down the center, the typical curly girl who, and by the way, all of them have the tendency to frizz and frizz differently, is the moisture. It's the moisture, and it's what you said, Melanie. It's the handling of the hair, styling products. It's how much styling product we use on a hair that already has that foundation of moisture. So frizz is hair begging for moisture. That's all it is.
Okay. Great. Okay, and the third one, and this is probably the toughest of the 3. In the weekly shows that we do, Melanie gets this question, I'll bet, once or twice a month, and we get hundreds and hundreds of questions, and it's It's tough, and I'll just tell you before I ask you this question, we've tried every which way to answer this question, and we've tried everywhere from okay, let's try to think outside the box a little bit and give some guidance, and that hasn't worked. And then we've tried a number of different ways to answer this. Melanie has found that just kind of sticking to what she knows is the answer, even though it's kind of a non-answer. So the question, yeah, I know. Right. So just to warn you, because I didn't want to catch you too off guard on it and make you think it was a setup. So I set you up. So the question is, I don't have a curly stylist within 100 miles of me. What do I do? What do I ask my stylist for? Can I explain it to them? What do I do? I'm at a loss.
It's a tough one, and I can tell you there obviously, as you've already offered many answers, I'll offer a few myself. We've had curly girls travel 100 miles to go to a curl stylist. They've done it. For those that don't, this is back to our academy years ago. The client actually brought the knowledge to the stylist to incent to stylist to take the program. And many times the stylist did. They actually said, my client insisted that I come to this class. Now, let's say you don't have that. They're not willing to travel 100 miles. Their stylist doesn't have a clue. I would say in their case, their best approach is to not focus so much on the haircut, but more focus put on product and styling. Because 20 plus years ago, we did not know how to cut curly hair at our salon. But the styling alone, and they could find that information online, they could find through these forums, just by putting the right product in the hair, it's actually going to change the appearance of the shape of that hair. The right styling approach for her. If she wants more volume, it may not necessarily be a cut. Maybe it's clipping. Maybe it's a styling routine. So I would say if they're really nervous about the cut, let that be the last step. Focus on the product, focus on styling. It actually visually change the look and the feel of their hair. And that's the answer I could give, unless they're going to self-cut, which could be better than what a stylist could do if they've had a bad experience.
You never know.
Rhett, could you hear the last part of that, or should she say it?
Have to say it again.
Yeah, because it got really
Yeah,
muffled.
can you give us the end of that question, or end of your
when
answer
you're talking
again?
about styling the hair?
About going with styling as a.
Sure. Yeah. If finding a stylist is not the option, you mentioned they have to travel 100 plus miles to find someone, they should focus on the products and styling, because products and styling alone could drastically change the shape and the look and feel of that texture. So much so that 20 plus years ago, when we really were first learning how to cut naturally textured hair, we too, as stylists, relied on product and styling more so than the haircut. So I would start there. See if that alone doesn't give you a shape that's more pleasing. And then I would say travel. Interview a stylist and travel. Those haircuts don't have to happen every 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
I think most curly girls know it's once or twice a year, the curlier they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. What do you think, Melanie?
Yeah,
Agree?
that's true. I think of the one woman who, I have people that travel, I mean, they fly in from all over,
All
but
over the world,
the
yeah.
one lady who drove 6 hours from Jacksonville to have me cut her hair, and then she started to get nervous because she's had bad experiences before, and she was like freaking out, and just, she wasn't going to get a haircut. And I'm like, you're kidding me. You just drove 6 hours. I'm cutting your hair, and she was so, part of her hesitation was because she wanted to keep the length. And so many times, the hair is cut wet and then it shrinks and it's shorter than what they wanted and they're disappointed, and, it takes them forever to grow it out. So, yeah, I cut it dry, and I literally cut, gosh, it was such a minimal amount. And she was so happy. And it felt like, sometimes it almost feels funny because you're hardly, taking any hair out. But that little bit, and like you said, Shari, the product knowledge and the techniques on styling it is what is, necessary to, make them happy and give them a pleasing shape or style. And so, yeah, she was definitely, thrilled with the results and willing to come back.
Yeah.
But what you said is so true and so valuable based on everything we've talked about in this interview, which is that you re-educated your client. And that is such an important part of this stylist-client relationship. You re-educated her. So of course she came in nervous and not trusting because she's never had a good experience. So the fact that you walked her through it and she trusted you enough to actually let you do the haircut after all, you changed that woman's life. And that's what many stylists are doing today. We couldn't do this. We didn't know how to do this 20 plus years ago.
Nope.
And now we have tools in our arsenal to be able to offer this to clients. They used to fly from California to New York, by the way, for haircuts. 20 something years ago, there was no one.
Right. It's pretty amazing.
I made a trip out of it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And it's true. Like I like what she's saying about, even just learning how to style the hair, because that is one of the comments that I get from new clients coming in is, and like you said, it's so gratifying because you're changing their life. They're saying, this is the first time I've left the salon happy with my hair, because normally every stylist straightens it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So even that alone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole new relationship. They're getting to know their curl for the first time without even putting a scissor to the head.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, let's do a lightning round and then we'll wrap it up. Shari, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to put you on the spot ahead of time because I've got at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got at least 8 more pages of questions, but I'm going to lightning round you through 2 pages. Would you be willing to, after the first of the year, come back on for another half an hour or so of Q&A?
I would look forward to that.
Okay, good. All right, let's go through. Let's do the lightning round. Okay, most Diva Curl products are recommended with sopping wet hair, but which products do you recommend for a dry refresh?
Well, I need to quickly say that most products aren't recommended for sopping wet hair anymore. That language has changed over the years, so that's good news. And the product, I would say for refreshing, Mr. Right, Set It Free, Detangler are great products for refreshing. Even a little bit of the Beautiful Mess to redefine the curl.
Okay, all right. Next question. Why is there no official Diva Curl distributor in Europe?
Well, I will hope that this new CEO will get us global distribution.
I sure would think so. I mean, it's Guy from Henkel. I would think. Yeah, congratulations on that. That was a real. I mean, I know because I'm a manufacturer. Damn, yes. Shari, that was a win, man. That was really a win. When I saw that, I was like, oh boy, now they're playing. Okay, next question. Okay, everyone talks super curly, but what are the best recommendations for us wavies? What are the best cut techniques, products, and routines? Type 2 wavy that want to stay. People that want to stay quote unquote natural.
Okay. I would say for most wavies, move the weight up into the crown area. So that comes with a haircut where the focus of moving the weight to the heaviness is alleviating it in the crown area. Definitely styling with your lighter, weightless products like Wave Maker and volumizing foam and hairspray. And then our fabulous clipping technique, which keeps that volume and that root lift at the top with minimal effort.
Yes. Okay. What do you recommend? No, I'm going to skip that. Okay. Do you recommend letting the hair completely dry while plopped?
I'm not very well versed in plopping, other than a few videos I saw, and it works for some people. I would say it's a personal preference.
Okay, personal preference. Okay.
I'm gonna add on to that question. When you teach diffusing, are you drying the hair completely, or are you leaving it slightly damp? Or any dampness to it?
And personal preference. Some people will diffuse almost to completion, and some people will do it 3/4 of the way, let the rest dry naturally.
What do you do, Shari?
I dry it fully, start to finish. That's the only way I can get that fullness at the root and that crown lift to stay intact.
How many days do you go between washes?
Lately, I can go two, maybe three if I put it up on the
Two,
sides.
maybe
But
three. What's the longest you've ever gone with without a wash and just a refresh?
I'd say 4 days, but it looked like crap.
Oh, 4 days. Okay, good. Okay. I have blonde curls. What can I use for shine? My curls always look dull.
Oh, you're going to hate me, but I'm going to go back to moisture and don't overload on products that are going to leave a filmy residue on the hair.
Okay. Uh, okay. When should I be using? I use all Diva products. When should I be using the Buildup Buster?
Buildup Buster is really meant to give you a clean slate if you've had a buildup of competitive products or the elements like chlorine or you've been at the beach. So I would say anytime you want to get a clean slate, you want to kind of get that bounce back to the hair, the Buildup Buster's micellar technology pulls all that crap off the hair and then allows you to really start with a clean, moisturized foundation to build up to that beautiful finished look again.
So as needed
That's needed, of course.
probably your best answer. Okay. I'm a two. Sorry. I'm a wavy. How do I train my hair to not show apart?
Oh, clipping. Clipping is a great way to do that. You could clip right through the part and completely eliminate it.
Okay. Okay. Is it possible to refresh in humid countries like the Philippines? I feel like my scalp should be washed every single day. What are your thoughts?
I don't think that has anything to do with the country she might live in. I think it has to do with how she's approaching her cleansing routine. Is she scrubbing enough? What products is she using? So yes, it's possible, of course.
Okay. Okay. I can't get past 1 day post wash without getting greasy roots. What am I doing wrong?
Nothing. That could just be her experience of her hair. She might have an experience that that's the feeling she has. She feels yucky after 1 day. She might be producing more oil. Nothing wrong with that. I used to actually cleanse every day. This is the first time in a long time I can go 2 days now.
No kidding. Okay. Two more questions and then we're done. A lot of cleansing conditioners are on the market and they market themselves as an all in one product, but Diva has a cleansing conditioner and a daily conditioner. Is this because curly girls need more moisture? My sister has very short curly hair and only uses the cleansing conditioner. Is it necessary to use both?
Depends on what kind of level of moisture deficiency there is in the hair. But I will say, look at the pH of these products because the pH is what's bringing about pH and friction is bringing about cleansing. So the no poo cleanser is a conditioning cleanser, but the pH is going to bring a more antiseptic scalp situation versus antisthetic, which is more calming, which is what conditioners do. So, what is the end goal? Are you looking to cleanse? Are you looking to condition? Or are you looking for a combination of both? And if that's the case, I would say use a cleanser that has a higher cleansing pH, followed by a conditioner which is soothing.
Okay. Okay. Last question. I cannot get volume without diffusing. What products would protect the hair and maintain the curl without getting a lot of frizz? And she's a wavy.
Okay, so moisture first and foremost is going to protect the hair. And then your weightless styling products in the world of Diva Curl is your volumizing foam, your spray, your wave maker, even gel, and proper handling of the hair during the drying process. I would say most of the time it's lack of moisture in the hair and mishandling of the product while you're drying it that creates the frizz.
Okay. And I think that's it. Melanie, do you have any more you want to add? Any more questions?
No, not really. I was just my mind was still back on the when you were just talking about the conditioning cleanser that Diva has. They have the no poo and then they also have the conditioner, and that's one of the things that I explain to people because when sometimes they're having issues just taking whatever brand of just the conditioner and washing their hair with it, and it's causing problems, and Shari addressed that. And I always say, being a manufacturer of products, I know that the pH is different in cleansers and conditioners, so Diva has addressed that, and that's why theirs is okay for actually cleansing the hair because it obviously has a different pH, just like the, what would be considered more of a shampoo or, a cleanser. We call ours in our line a cleanser instead of a shampoo. But it has to do a lot with that pH. And that's why sometimes there's a problem using other products, just taking a conditioner and trying to wash your hair with it. Do you agree
If
with
they're using a conditioner and it's more acidic, and they're not really scrubbing, stimulating, and then rinsing it out, that's how the hair becomes very sedated and it's not properly cleansed.
Right. Exactly. And then they can get buildup.
Absolutely. And that's where it's like a vicious cycle. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I actually have one more question, but I'm gonna ask you afterwards because I'm gonna do it off camera, and I've been real excited to ask you this. But I'm gonna do it off camera. So, well, we can always edit, but we try not to edit, but we can always edit. So, okay, well, wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Shari, for coming on.
Awesome.
Really looking forward to your new venture. I think I mean, obviously, we've had enough conversations that that is very encouraging to me. I mean, I see there's so much opportunity. There's so much growth. There's so many things that need to happen. And at least for Melanie and I know you because you're about the same age as we are, that, we're getting to that point in our career that we can look back, we can see where we've come from, we can see where we are now, and we know where we need to go, as opposed to, a lot of people who haven't been in this segment of the market as long as we have. And we're getting to that point where we can start directing it and, for lack of a better word, leave kind of a legacy of, in the world of curl, let's just call it that. And to me, that's exciting.
Yes,
yeah. And I'm excited. So definitely want to support your new venture and get you in our salon and have some classes.
Yes.
Fantastic. This was wonderful. And I applaud both of you for creating a platform like this for other people to start tapping into, both consumers and professionals. I think it was necessary. And I think that you're going to see that a lot more people are going to find you and really benefit from the information that's happening here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I know you do spend a good amount of time down here in Florida. So when you're down here, if you ever feel like making a trip down to the Naples, Fort Myers area, well, absolutely, we'll bring you in. We'll do it in studio. We've got this nice brand new podcast and video studio. And we have cocktails.
Get off the boat. Get off the boat. We see her on the boat, right? She's got to get
on
off
the boat
the boat
all the time. You can actually come from where you guys are and literally come across the center of the state on the Caloosahatchee, and you can dock right at our back door at our house.
Really?
Yes. Literally you can. So keep that in mind.
Okay, bring the boat.
Bring the boat. Well, wonderful. Well, thanks again, Shari. We'll be in touch. We appreciate it.
Thank you both.
And have a great holiday, and we'll talk to you again after the new year.
Bye, Shari.
Right.
Bye.
Wonderful. Well, that was a lot of fun. I hope you guys like that. As you heard, Shari's going to come on again after the first of the year, and we'll talk about more, because I know we had a whole lot more questions that it just takes a lot of time to go through. But I think we really did a great job of laying the groundwork, and you got to know who Shari is, and you got to learn about DevaCurl and how that all started, and the directions that she's going and they're going now, and
it's exciting.
And it's really exciting. So hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll keep you posted on the next episode, and we'll see you guys again next week.